All right, those are your political roundup stories. So let's get straight to the very first conversation for the day that has to do with our national security. We're joined on the program from our Abuja studio by former Senator representing Kaduna Central, Senator Shehu Sani joins me from Abuja. Senator, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So let's begin from piggyback on what played out on the chambers in about 24 hours. And so when I watched some of the excerpts of the conversation or plenary yesterday, there were for and against. I think Senator Jimmy Bryan was the one that sponsored that motion and co-sponsored by other members of the chamber, of other senators as well. But there were divergent positions as far as that is concerned. I listened to, I think, Senator Enyinaya Baribe as well as Senator Ningi, Baribe, talking about whether this is necessary or not. So they are saying that given the prevailing insecurity in the country, there's a need to convoke a national security summit and have a broader conversation on how to curb insecurity. So questions people are asking is this really necessary? We have the commander-in-chief, we have the military, we have literally everything we need. Do we need another quote-unquote talk shop in that sense to be able to know how to solve our problems in terms of security or insecurity in this sense, Senator?
Thank you for having me. Well, it is a known fact that the Nigerian state is faced with a war against banditry and terrorism. This war or this battle has been going on for over a decade and a half. And victory over terrorists and bandits is as important as the unity, the peace, the survival of the Nigerian state. And it is also a fact that the war we are fighting as a country is not just about us and the terrorists, but it's also a battle that is being fought by other nations within the sub-region. The situation we are in is the same situation the country of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. And those countries that are today under military rule, part of the reasons for the takeover has to do with the failure of the government, successive governments in those countries to combat the pervasive insecurity that is annihilating the people of that country. Well, for us, we have talked too much about insecurity. What is needed for us is to step up our actions, because our actions as a government and as a nation has not been able to exterminate the activities of bandits and terrorists in our country. We have had so many talk shops, so many summits, so many conferences about security. And what is needed now is more action. And we have seen in the last 1.5 decades how terrorists in the northeastern part of Nigeria, up to this very time, are unleashing mayhem and havoc against innocent people and burning down villages, kidnapping people and extorting hundreds of ransom. And each time you thought that they have been exterminated, few days, you will see them coming out more boldly and daring. So we have had enough talk shop. What is needed now is that we should do something differently or improve on what we are doing. What is that improvement? We are in the 31st century. This technology is very important. And from some of the reports that have been coming up from those terrorists said that they are advancing their courses by even using sophisticated technological devices like drones. So I think these are things we need to improve upon and then continue to fight. And it is also the fact of history and reality of today that you cannot win a war against terrorism within 24 hours. This is a battle that nations of the world, more advanced nations, more developed militaries in the world have been fighting, and they are still battling. So we have to continue to do it. One thing that should be in our mind is that we should have faith in our military. We should continue to support and encourage them. And then it is also a fact that the terrorists cannot overrun the Nigerian state. But it is the battle of our time, the battle of our era. It is the cause of our nation, that we must unite and achieve big victory at the end of the day. If those terrorists are not destroyed, they are not exterminated, then our country will continue to bleed and to suffer. So we have to continue to do what we are doing and improve upon what we are doing. But sitting down in an air-conditioned hall and coming out with a lot of speeches from left, right, and center that adds nothing, it's not going to be of help as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Senator, apparently you do not agree. Maybe you stand on the same position with Ningi and I think Baribo on this, that is maybe just going to end up with spending money on another talk shop. It's just action at the end of the day. And I want you to speak further. I remember it was Senator Oshomole, I think so, that made the statement, but I don't think they follow through, whether it was not accepted in that sense. I'm just using my words carefully here. When he was talking about probing the spendings of past military officers as well, he even alleged at some point, I know some military generals were not happy, that there are even former military generals who are complicit, even in banditry, because of the kind of the way those operations were carried out. And he had his own flags against him to that effect. But he had raised the concern over the monies we spend, our budget allocation. Military security takes like the highest chunk, even in 2025 budget. So it's time for us to look into the books and know whether these monies are expended appropriately and sufficiently. Don't you think that's also another direction? Because it looks like the more we're spending money, the more the average person is not feeling safe. So that is absolutely counterproductive, and that is not supposed to be.
Well, there are those who think that when we have a state of emergency, I mean a state of emergency in the sense that we are faced with terror attacks in parts of the country, and the need to fund the military, to equip the military, and to give them the blank check to fight is necessary. But there are those who also, from another school of thought, who believe that the need for probity and accountability in defense expenditure is very important as far as the need to succeed is concerned. Now let's look at this. The defense budget of Nigeria is higher than the combined defense budget of almost all of the West African states. And why should other countries that are spending less seems to be safer than us? Why should that be? So the need for accounting in terms of money spent in the prosecution of this war is very important. And then secondly, I can remember there was a time when the former Chief of Army Staff, who died in a plane crash in Kaduna, Tahiru, took over office. He complained of lack of equipment, lack of ammunition, low morale among the military, and then low welfare support for our military. And that was at the very time where hundreds of billions of naira were pumped into defense and security apparatus of the state. So if we continue to pump in billions and billions for our security and defense network, and the result is not commensurate with the money that is being spent, then you know that is either the money is not going to where it should be, or some people are simply profiting from it. So you cannot say that because we are fighting a war, so the military apparatus, the security apparatus should not be held accountable. They have to be held accountable because this is public funds that have been spent. And how can, if you look at it from 2015 to 2023, the billions, almost defense carries about most likely 25–30% of Nigeria's budgetary allocation, and also is one of the defense, is one of the budget that is well funded apart from INEC. And if such amount of money can be pumped in to our military structures, and then we are not getting the result, not just getting the result, but the military on the battlefield are complaining of lack of enough financial support, lack of equipment, lack of weapons for them to fight, then you know that there is a problem somewhere. So I am of the school of thought that the need to have accounting system in the kind of funds we pay. Let's not forget, there was a certain time, even the former president, Buhari, has to bypass protocol and processes and purchase some aircrafts, fighters. Was it Tucano, if I can recall? And then what became of them? And then of recent, some few months ago, I heard that they are also going to import more and more fighter aircraft. So it is important that we prioritize our defense spending to achieve result. We cannot continue to pump in money and then we don't get result. That is why I said defense and security funds should go. Hold on. Defense and security funds should go for defense. Monies for Ministry of Defense and the military should not be used for building plazas, for building hotels, for National Association of Wives of Army Officers, wife of Air Force, wife of Navy officers. It's not for those. Those are things that should be used for those in the battlefield to be able to achieve result. But nowadays you go, almost all security apparatus of Nigeria, they have hotels, they have shopping malls, they have all these things here. I don't know how, they even have universities. So that is not what we should spend our money if we are really interested
Senator Sani,
in winning
this
battle. Yes.
So I'm looking at the initial appropriation bill that was sent to the National Assembly, 4.9, let's just call it an approximate 5 trillion budgeted for defense alone. And you've complained about the need for us to, you've raised concern about the need for us to look into the books. So whose responsibility is this? This is supposed to be the responsibility of the National Assembly. They have all kinds of committees across the defense line, defense, army, navy, and all of this. So isn't this a failure on the part of the National Assembly to do their work appropriately in oversighting to make sure that these monies are expended for what they are appropriated for, so that people can feel safe? People are kidnapped, there's a carnage on the plateau, there's carnage in Benue, and then what exactly is going... Don't you think it's time for us to call out the National Assembly to be more effective in their oversight function?
Well, it's a fact that the National Assembly has to do their own bid in terms of holding the military authorities to account, or defense security. But we must appreciate that. Despite the fact that there is still violence, kidnapping and attacks in Katsina, in parts of Sokoto, Kaduna, Niger, Kebbi, and also the Boko Haram are resurging and attacking more targets and even military formations in Borno State now. Comparatively, we can see that there is a very significant improvement than when we had it before 2023. And you can remember, when last have you heard that terrorists have attacked primary school and secondary school and kidnapped students? So that should be appreciated. Kaduna-Abuja road, which is my road, my state, used to have almost on a regular basis 3 to 4 kidnapping incidences. That has also been addressed. A part of my state now is clear. Birningwari, that used to be the hope, the cesspool of terrorism and banditry, now things are a bit clearer. And the Kaduna-Abuja train, too, has had more security presence than it has ever been. But these are appreciable progress that have been made in the last few months, and kudos to National Security Advisor and the President and other defense chiefs have done a good job, CDS Musa. But for now, does not mean that because we are fighting a war, we are fighting a battle with terrorists, so we should continue to pump in money without asking what it's been used for. Monies that should be used for defense and security should specifically be used for defense and security. We need drones, we need armored personnel carrier, we need to take the battle to the terrorists and win this war. A nation of 230 million people can't be held hostage by number of terrorists that are more than 3,000 to 4,000. So this is a battle we have to win, and we have to continue to fight it. But in order for us to win, so that our funds don't end up in private pockets of military generals, we have to make sure that every penny spent in that war goes to the soldiers and goes to the equipment, goes to the purchase of whatever is necessary for us to win this battle.
Just before we leave the issue of security and talk about a few more things, there was something that the Senate president, I think, raised to the effect that was in that bill where it talked about the manner in which service officers are laid off in that sense, whether it's the police or the military in this sense, which now makes some of them to resort to crime. Those were some of the allegations that were raised. Because of the language they now use, they're now familiar with how our military in that sense operates. So they are talking about disciplinary action and all of that. So they see that some of the former officers either are now directly involved in this crime or are becoming like insider in that sense or are literally training some of these elements. If you were to make recommendations, what will it be to address? Because this is like somebody who knows where you walk, where you go, and how you move, telling your enemy how you move, targeting you, and bringing out every strategy you put out to safeguard either people or yourself. And this is quite dangerous.
Well, if I can recall, some few months ago, there were some military veterans that organized a peaceful procession here in Abuja, where they were demanding for payments of their pensions, gratuities, and entitlement. And that is unfortunate for a country that is in the center of a battle for its own life against terrorists and bandits. So if those who made so much sacrifices for our peace, for our security, for our well-being are treated such badly, you see, it is discouraging for those in the front line. Let us not forget, whoever you see that is sleeping in his house and that is comfortable in his home or that is going to work, somebody somewhere on the front line is sacrificing his life and that of his family for him to be safe. So there are Nigerians in the military and in other security agencies that are today in the front line and confronting these terrorists. And these are not just soldiers, they are fathers, they are uncles, they are breadwinners, and they have family. Go around the country today, you will see widows and orphans of people who laid their lives for this country, laid their lives for our peace, and laid their lives so that we can live. That should be appreciated. And for a nation like ours, there is no act of gratitude than making sure that their families don't suffer and those who are on the front line are being given the highest payment than any other person, because the ultimate sacrifice is sacrificing your life. And this is what they are doing for us. So it is important that we take the welfare of the army very important. I read it last year that the federal government has raised payments for deceased and veterans and also others who have been who are in the front line fighting. I think that's a good one, but we need to do more. We need to understand that those who are fighting are doing it for us to live, and they are doing it with serious consequences and their life. And no amount of money will you give them to say that is too much for them. So we need accounting. We need to use our money to support our military and to win this war. It's something that we don't have an option other than to make sure it happens.
Now, do you also believe, because there are also speculations to the effect that sometimes it's not as though our military do not know what to do or how to do what they want to do. It's just that the politics has played in, ethnicity has played in, so they may be having contrary command as against knowing this is an enemy, but because of whatever biases, it affects their effectiveness. Is that something you've heard? Is there an element of truth in that?
Well, you see, when a nation is confronted with this danger, and then you have this kind of battle raging for so long, it's very easy for someone sitting in the comfort of his room to either look down or talk down on the military or refuse to appreciate their sacrifices. But for the fact that this battle has been going on, if not for them, terrorists could have spread all over the country. Let's not forget, at a certain time in our country, motor parks are bombed, schools are bombed, streets, people are bombed, and wherever you go was bombing. That was when the leader of of one of the terror group was alive. But success was achieved. And now it's a certain part of the country. But what is going on in Borno State today is a clarion call for us to do more to address this problem of these terrorists that have become a menace and a danger to our survival. And the fact that complaints are being raised shows that there are issues that need to be addressed. And it's not just with Nigeria. Remember Algeria, 1992, after the normal election, the armed Islamic group took up arms against the state, and it lasted for almost 10 years. And it's not only Nigeria that is faced with terrorist attacks. There are other nations still fighting. And then this is the challenge of our time, for which we have to win for our survival.
Okay. Senator, I must thank you so much. Our military, they are doing their best. We've seen our military enter other countries in the sub-region to restore peace, to restore order. So sometimes we get surprised how we can be overrun in this sense. Even our military formations being attacked on home soil is just not acceptable. But I must thank you, Senator Shehu Sani, Senator who represented Kaduna Central. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate it.